Somebody asked me a good question. They asked, how do you retain all this stuff you learn? How do you do it? Do you go specifically out of your way to memorize things, or how do you remember all your words and stuff from your languages? And well, when I first learn a language, I specifically, try to memorize phrases and words and dialogues and stuff. What I do though is, the audio discs that comes with the course book, I will just listen over and over and over and over and over and over and over to the dialogues. I'll just keep listening to the same thing many, many times. And, then it gets it ingrained into your mind. It gets stuck in your head, the dialogue. And really, I'm not doing anything but just listening. I'm not really going out of my way to memorize it per se. I'm just listening so it gets like stuck in my head. And then when it does, I can easily replicate it. And that's how I go about like memorizing vocabulary and stuff, is listen to it in context in the dialogue. And also too, like, let's say German, one of my better languages, if I want to learn a new word, I look it up in my dictionary, and I can read German, so nothing's going to be a challenge for me to pronounce, really. But I will look up the word, and right away I'll try and use it. Like, let's say I want to learn information. I would just kind of like make up my own story, and in the story I gathered information and I used this information to solve this problem or whatever. I'll just write about it just to myself, just write. Or I'll try and use it in a conversation in a chat room or talking with somebody on the internet from Germany. I'll try to use new words and I remember them better. Like, I remember things better if I use it in a real life situation like that. And sometimes I might learn a word but never really pay that much attention to it. Like, I remember not too long ago I was watching a video, like a German video, and it was like a news clip, and I heard the word Strand, and that means beach in German. I go, whoa, I recognize that word from somewhere. I had learned it a couple years previous, but I had forgotten it. But once I heard it, it kind of clicked in my head. I go, I know that word. And when they said it again in the video, it showed people walking on a beach. And I go, oh yeah, that means beach. So, some things, like, you might forget, but once you hear it again, it'll come right back to you real quick. But, yeah, I really don't go out of my way to particularly memorize things. Sometimes, like I said, I'll look up a word and try and use it in a sentence and that kind of stuff. They say to get something memorized, you have to do it 7 times, or write it down 7 times, or hear it 7 times, and then it's pretty much in your memory for a while. And I've also heard too that if you want to keep it in your memory, like long-term memory for a long time, so you can recall it like a year later, they say 35 times. Listen to something 35 times, write something down 35 times, physically do something 35 times. That's what I've heard. So really, how I retain like my vocabulary, let's say in German or Chinese or Swahili or whatever, is I'm constantly listening to the language. Like with my German, even though I'm not hardly studying it too hard really at the moment, I'm constantly watching videos in German. Constantly, yeah, like every day I'll watch a YouTube video in German. And I watch movies in German. I love watching movies in foreign languages. And I read occasionally in German and that kind of stuff. So I'm constantly exposing myself to the language. So you just don't forget it if you're constantly exposed to it. Most of the music I listen to is in German, so I'm constantly going to be reminded of words that I might have forgotten. So that's how I retain my vocabulary. Same with Chinese. I'm studying Mandarin Chinese right now, 普通话, and listening to music and watching movies, I recognize all the words that I've heard before. So even if I might have forgotten them, I'll go, oh yeah, I remember that word now. Yep, that's right. So I don't, like I said, it's not really like a conscious thing. It's more of hearing a word over and over in context and then being reminded of it later when you hear the word again. That's really all it is. It's how I retain anyways. I'm guessing it's the same for everyone else.